A number of Trump administration officials did a press briefing today on the issue of the upcoming midterm elections and the fact that, yes, Russians are still trying to infiltrate and meddle in our election, especially this upcoming one. And it's important that they address it because there has been some mixed signals coming from the White House, specifically from Donald Trump. Now, this press conference seems to attempt to do some damage control following Donald Trump's statements that are highly favorable toward Russia. But nonetheless, what you're about to hear from people like Dan Coats, the director of national security, is important. And it does show you that there are at least some administration officials who are aware of this and are attempting to do something about it. Let's take a look.
We continue to see a pervasive messaging campaign by Russia to try to weaken and divide the United States.
Okay, so there's Dan Coats. Again, that is the director of national security. Kirstjen Nielsen also was part of this press briefing, and she also addresses Russia here. Let's take a look at what she has to say.
Free and fair elections are the cornerstone of our democracy, and it has become clear that they are the target of our adversaries who seek, as the DNI just said, to sow discord and undermine our way of life.
So, Jake, I feel like this press briefing is a little surprising. It's surprising to me because it's one of the first times you see a concerted effort by Trump administration officials to really address this issue and show that they're taking it seriously. Trump was not part of this press briefing. He didn't release any statement in regard to what was said during the briefing. I just feel like there's this damage control element to all of this.
Yeah, actually, I don't find the damage control weird. I find other things that were said weird in this press conference. It's fairly normal for them to want to do damage control because they have the intelligence. They know Russia is actively interfering. Even Nielsen, the person you just saw, who previously had kind of poo-pooed it, is now saying, and she had said earlier, just a couple of days ago, reversing and joining Dan Coats and others going, no, it's really important, it's serious. And she said the Russians have democracy in their, our democracy in their crosshairs. So now that's a person who was trying to deny it earlier. So apparently they have seen some intelligence that has spooked them, if you will, right? And so I like what she said about free and fair elections. I mean, that's, by the way, Wolfpack's slogan is to restore free and fair elections, wolf-pack.com to get money out of politics. And let me just quick side note there, note that, you know, there are other people who interfere in our elections. I'm in the camp that the Russians have. I'm in that camp because of overwhelming evidence in that regard. But corporations also interfere in our elections, and so do other governments, and we should act out on all that. But so the interesting part here is the way that they were talking was a little surprising. Coates said that he is, quote, not in a position to either understand or fully or talk about what happened in Helsinki. So in other words, he's saying, I wasn't briefed on what the US president and the leader of Russia talked about for 2 hours behind closed doors, even though he is the director of national intelligence. He sits on top of the entire intelligence community, and the president won't tell him what he told the Russian president for all that time. That is very strange. I know we get used to things in the Trump administration that would otherwise be startling, but then he also went on to say that I think the president has made it abundantly clear to everybody who has responsibility in this area. That's an awfully strange way of phrasing it. So why is that strange? Well, couldn't the president just, yeah, of course, Dan Coats is in charge. He's my director of national intelligence, or couldn't he join, or, you know, but for these guys to come out and say, it's okay, we're in charge and we are fighting back against the Russians. And Trump is not here, but I assure you he knows that we're the ones who are responsible in this area.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there's something a little strange about that.
So, okay, so I want to be clear about what I meant in my comments. So I didn't see this press briefing as damage control for Trump and his reputation. I saw it as damage control for administration officials who might be a little hesitant to speak out against Trump or might refuse to publicly, openly, transparently be transparent in showing that they disagree with him. But I think that they want to make abundantly clear that they do see what's happening with Russia and they are not in agreement with Trump when he makes it seem as though Vladimir Putin is not a threat or that the Russian government is not a threat and has never tried to meddle in our elections. I see this as them trying to message to the American people, no, we see what's happening and we do take it seriously. Yeah. So it's more damage control for themselves than Trump.
Yeah. No, normally any normal administration would actually send these people out to do damage control for itself because they'd realize it was such a stupid thing to do to say that the Russians are right and we are wrong. But of course, Trump doesn't see it that way. So that's why this split is fascinating. I want to show you 2 more clips here, and then I want to come back to another quote that I found to be curious, and that's by the FBI director. Let's go to the next video here, though.
As I have said consistently, Russia attempted to interfere with the last election and continues to engage in malign influence operations to this day.
So that's the FBI director, Christopher Wray, explaining they're still doing it right now. In fact, let me go to his curious quote. The other one he said there was, he said, I can assure the American people that the men and women of the FBI, starting from the director all the way on down, are going to follow our oaths and do our jobs. So now you might say, hey, Cenk, you're overreading it. And it's possible, right? Because he's just saying, look, the president's constantly attacking the FBI nonstop. In fact, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who's awkwardly present, attacked the FBI herself just the other day, right? So it's the FBI director protecting the FBI, that makes sense. But the way he phrased it, that I can assure everyone that we're going to follow our oaths and do our job. It could be that this is just, hey, we all got together and decided to do damage control for our own careers for some later date when we're out of the Trump administration.
That's the way I see it.
Right, yeah. and that is the most likely thing. But for all of them to get together and to say, yeah, Trump's not here, but we're on it, and we do take Russia seriously, and we're gonna follow our oath no matter what. I don't know, I grant you that I really could be reading too much into it, but I did find the wording from a couple of them to be interesting.
Well, regardless of what their true intentions are, and if you take what they're saying at face value, meaning you believe what they're saying, it's a good thing that you have some people in a position of power who are acknowledging this issue and attempting to find solutions for it. Because look, my concern wasn't, I want to go to war with Russia, or I don't want anything like that. I just want to make sure that we secure and protect our elections. And so I was concerned that with Trump's very cozy relationship with Putin, nothing was going to be done about this very serious issue. So I don't know what these individuals are going to do specifically to protect, the midterm elections from any interference from Russia or any other country. But knowing that they are aware of this and are at least acknowledging it and want to do something about it doesn't put my mind at ease completely, but it gives me a little bit of comfort.
I want to show you the last clip here because it's Dan Coates. I read you the quote, but I want you, let's all look at it together to see how he said it, about what he knew and didn't know about the president meeting with Russia.
I don't know what happened in that meeting. I think as time goes by, and the president has already mentioned some things that happened in that meeting, I think we will learn more. But that is the president's prerogative.
So that was earlier, of course, and he continued along the same veins today. But as you look at that, how could the director of national intelligence not know what happened in the meeting at all? Now, look, one possible theory is, the president's incompetent and just doesn't do anything he's supposed to do as president, including sharing intelligence about meeting with the Russian leader for a long, long time with his own director of national. Shouldn't you at least debrief and go, here's what he said, and what can we get, figure out from what Putin said, right, and make sure that we understand their motivations and actions, et cetera, so that we can act and react towards this country, whether you consider it an adversary or not. I mean, you'd want to huddle with your director of national intelligence almost immediately thereafter.
Yeah, right. Not with Trump.
And so one possibility is he's just a buffoon, right? The other possibility is he didn't want to tell his director of national intelligence what he talked about.
He went out of his way to ensure that that conversation was as private as possible. There was only one other person in the room, and that was the interpreter, the translator, and that's it. So Trump didn't want to have a conversation about whatever it was that he discussed with Putin. Look, in any other circumstance, then someone might be able to say, okay, yeah, Trump's a buffoon, or the president is a buffoon, but you can't buy that in the context of this whole Russia debacle with Trump.
Yeah, and last thing is, look, we wanted to show you that clip from earlier when Coates talked about that, because you would think, all right, look, that was a little closer to Helsinki when he said that, and you saw it on CNN there, right? Even then, it's egregious and unbelievable. And then he said it in public that Trump wouldn't tell him what was in the meeting. So that's amazing. But since then, Trump has had plenty of time to call him in and go, hey, Coach, what are you talking about? Here's what happened in the meeting. Stop saying that stuff in public. That looks bad. That looks weird, right? So that's why I'm emphasizing that today he still said, quote, I'm not in a position to either understand fully or talk about what happened in Helsinki. It's one thing to say, I can't comment on that. I'm the director. That's intelligence, and I can't talk to you about it. But I'm not in a position to understand it. Now, there's something super weird going on, and it might be. Look, now this is speculation, but that they have intelligence about Trump that is not yet public, and so they want to go and have a press conference and say, we're going to do our jobs. Everybody be cool. And right now, the president is not telling us what he did with the Russians. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.